First video for the outlining unit is going to be a review of the document Why and How to Outline from the Purdue Online Writing Laboratory. And it says here, why and how to create a useful outline. The longer that I've been a writer and having to produce written materials, the more I appreciate the process of outlining. When I was a new writer, I just preferred to get a bunch of stuff in my head and spill it out on the paper. And that usually produced a paper that was not as well organized, not as well clear, not as efficient, and not as complete as it could have been. So let's see what Purdue has to say about the process of outlining and why it's useful. Aids in the process of writing, that's a claim without any details. So more importantly, I'd like to emphasize that outlining does help you to organize your ideas. And that's very important because things are probably just barely clear and organized in your own head. Even when you're ready to write, your customer, your client, your audience really doesn't know your topic and therefore needs a lot more help to be able to see the interrelationships among ideas within your paper. And the way that it helps to organize and aid in the process of writing is that the material is presented in a logical form, an organized form, a roadmap that the reader can see and understand. And the outline helps you to emphasize the relationships among the different parts of the document that you produce. What are the main points? What is the supporting information? What's the overall goal, etc. And said in another way, an outline helps to provide an orderly overview of the writing, so you can see if it's complete, you can see if it's logical. It's a check upon whether you've written clearly enough that your paper teaches your idea to another person. And again, defining groups, boundaries, segments of the paper is a useful way, a useful characteristic of an outline that helps it to be organized, logical, and clear. So, how does one develop an outline? Firstly, the paper needs to have a clear purpose. It needs to have an objective. It needs to have a thesis statement, whatever one wants to call it. And that's something that we've worked on quite a bit already this semester, developing it very clearly. Also, to be very clear on the audience that you're writing for. A very familiar audience, a scientific audience, will need less background, may be able to get by with less structure. A novice audience may need to have a much clearer statement of what's going on. And the thesis is really the clearest and crispest expansion of the purpose. So thesis is important. What is the paper about? What is it trying to prove? What is the goal? So before the outline purpose starts, one thing that is important and useful, which you may think is unnecessary because you think everything can live in your brain, but is much better to actually put it on paper. The process is called brainstorming, in which you initially, not as writing the paper, but as an initial step, very early in the process, dump everything in your head onto paper. All the things you want to say, all the points you want to make, all the topics, the important references, the definitions, everything, without regard for organization and without regard for what's bigger or smaller or how it's all put together. Just get everything on paper. And, well, it could be on paper or it could be in a draft Word document. This is an important step. It gets everything out of your head. It clears your head. and he gets everything on the paper so you don't forget anything. You might want to have several brainstorming sessions where you put everything down on paper and then you reread it and say, well, I say that I'm going to do this, but in order to do that, I also have to say this and this and this. So subsequent brainstorming sessions can be very effective in helping you to build up your body of material in your document. Next is to organize. In the old days, we used to cut up pieces of paper and paper clip them together. Nowadays, you can do cut and paste inside of documents in a digital form, but put related materials together. Everything that's background information goes and gets stuck onto one page. And after a page break, everything that is part of your problem statement can go on another page. So you help to organize all of this brainstormed materials. The next thing is to begin to, perhaps by starting with a template or perhaps by creating your own crude outline, begin to take your overall picture, your mental picture of the whole paper, and put it into a rough outline, and then begin to take the pieces and build them into the outline. So the outline will grow to accommodate all of the material that you try to squeeze into it. And that step is an important step. Remember, reading a paper, your client, your audience, is going on a journey when they look at your paper. They start at the start where they are, and they're going to go through a very exciting, hopefully interesting journey through your topic. And at the point when you start to write your outline, you have to be able to visualize that entire journey, just as you can visualize your route to school each day that you come in. You leave your neighborhood, you get on the big road, then you get on a different big road, you come to the village, you go through the village, and you find your regular parking spot on campus. That's a journey, just as is the trip through your topic. And you will need to see the whole topic. And the brainstorming probably helped with that, because by brainstorming you were forced to think about everything that was involved. So that's the general means of creating an outline. Ending this video at this point.